I hate it so much and I hate myself for reading it, and I wish I could go back in time and pick something different. Hey friends, so today I am doing another episode of giving authors I've hated a second chance. I did a reading vlog last year where I picked 2 books by authors that I really disliked, and I read another book by those same authors to see if it was just that book that I disliked or if they're actually an author that's just not for me. So this time I am picking 3 authors whose books I hated. What's funny about this video is that all 3 authors who I've chosen, I have unhauled the book that I read by them. That was how much I disliked them. I didn't even want to keep them on my shelves. So I don't have the books to show you. Here are the authors that I have chosen and the books that I'm going to be reading from them. First up, we have Abby Jimenez. I read The Friend Zone and absolutely hated it. I thought it was so terrible. It's actually one of the few books in my life that I've ever read and then immediately returned. I never ever do that, but I was like, Miss Girl, I need my money back. The book that I will be reading to give her a second chance is Part of Your World. I have heard so many amazing things about this book to the point where I'm like, how is that the same author? What do you mean Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez is everyone's favorite romance book? When everyone was reading and loving this book, I did not believe them. I was like, there's no way that that is the same author who wrote The Friend Zone. I even was sent a copy of Part of Your World and I got rid of it because I was like, I'm never gonna read that, but now I am. The next author is Olivia Blake. The book from her that I read was The Atlas 6. Now, in Miss Olivia Blake's defense, I did give The Atlas 6 2.5 stars, so I didn't absolutely hate it, but I did not really like it either. So the book that I'm gonna be reading from her to give her a second chance is Alone with You in the Ether. This is another book that I feel like so many people say is their favorite, that it is such a beautiful love story, and I'm very curious because the girls really love Olivia Blake, and I would love to be a girl that gets it, but as of right now, I'm not. And then the last author is Darcy Coates. I read From Below from her and I gave it 1 star. I really hated that book, but everyone was telling me that From Below is such an outlier for Darcy Coates and it's so dissimilar to any of her other books. So I'm willing to give her another chance. The book that I've chosen is Voices in the Snow, which definitely sounds more like a kind of book that I would like. Darcy Coates has such a huge backlist. I was kind of getting overwhelmed trying to pick a book to read. So I asked a bunch of people what their Darcy Coates recommendations were, and everyone gave very different answers, but this was one book that most people mentioned. So we will see. I'm gonna read these 3 books and see if any of these authors can be redeemed for me, or if I'm just a hater. I feel like I've been hyping this book up for a while, so if it's not good, I think I might cry.
A clown. That's clown shit.
I really hate to tell y'all this, but I hate it. This book was trying to be Into the Drowning Deep, but failed. It's like the Hallmark version. It's the horror version of that. I'm very much in the minority. This book only has like 2 1-star reviews, and I want to give it 1 star. Okay, I have to admit something. Last night I was gonna start Voices in the Snow, and I was just gonna read a couple chapters before I went to sleep. Well, I ended up reading the entire book in 1 sitting. It was so good. I'm shocked. I was not expecting that. So basically this book is kind of like, not post-apocalyptic. It's like at the start of an apocalyptic event, which I'm not gonna say what it is because what actually happens is kind of like something you find out later on. All of a sudden it like starts snowing like crazy. The weather is going insane and the main character is trying to drive to her sister because her sister has a bunker that they're going to take shelter in. But while she's on the road, she crashes and then blacks out. And when she wakes up, she is in this like old gothic mansion. She has like bandages all over her. She's completely injured, and there's this man standing in the room, and he tells her that she's been asleep for 2 days, that he like saved her from her car wreck. They're now trapped in his house, which is like this huge, like I said, gothic mansion, and it's like blizzarding. There's like crazy hail that's like the size of basketballs. So at first she's like, who is this man? Where am I? What the hell happened? Slowly, she starts to trust him. He's like really taking care of her. But then she keeps seeing these like very bizarre, scary figures in the dark corners of the house that every time she tries to bring to his attention, it disappears. And so she's getting really freaked out. But also as this is happening, they are like falling in love. It is, let me tell you, this book is a romance book. I don't care what anyone says. This is a romance book that is just disguised as a horror book. I'm sorry. The whole plot is about the romance, which I was so here for. Like, tell me this is not just a romantic suspense. But like, that was honestly what kept me going. I loved the romance. I loved the main character, but I love the hero. He basically comes from this like very old money family, and his mother was very controlling. So she actually never let him leave the mansion. So he's kind of like a recluse. He's never really been out in the world. He talks in kind of this like old-fashioned style, very like closed off, but he's also like super nice and nurturing. He was just so precious and I loved him. Like the amount of caretaking in this book, this is like I said, this is literally a forced proximity snowed in romance with tons of caretaking. And then it just also happens to be in the middle of this apocalypse with like spooky hauntings going on. But it's really just a romance. So throughout the book, they have to try to survive because phones are down. They have to conserve the electricity. It's freezing temperatures. They're running low on food. And also the main character keeps seeing things and hearing things. I could not put it down for 1 second. Like, it was so compulsively readable. This is the exact opposite experience that I had with the other Darcy Coates book, which I found so slow, so boring. This one, I literally was like, I think I read it in like 2 hours. And it's not even that it's necessarily a short book, I just could not put it down. I will say I am gonna be giving it 4 stars instead of 5 stars. It was 5 stars until around like the ending, kind of, when a lot of things are revealed. I didn't love the ending. There were some things that happened that I was like, okay, that's a little goofy. That's a little silly, but I loved the majority of it enough that like it didn't detract from my enjoyment. But I did not realize this is a series all following the same couple. I'm like, sign me up. I think it's like a 4-book series and I'm here for it. I'm like, yes, I'm down for this couple. I want to see where they go. What I would compare this book to was very much giving The Last of Us vibes, specifically the episode with Nick Offerman, where you're like following a couple who are just trying to survive together in a house and they end up falling in love, but like they're also trying to deal with like surviving and like getting to know each other, and like that is what this book is, except it's a lot less emotional than that episode is. It's more like silly fun. But The Last of Us is what I would compare this book most to. It's like if The Last of Us was a forced proximity snowed in romance. And like, here's the thing, this book is so perfect for me. I love romance. I love post-apocalyptic books. I love gothic books. I just had so much fun. And I cannot remember the last time I read a book where like I started it at night and then I just stayed up and finished the book. So we have a success. We went from giving Darcy Coates 1 star to 4.5 stars. And the second chance was a success. So unlike the other books in this video, I don't actually have any video clips of me reading The Friend Zone or giving my thoughts to it. I scoured my channel trying to find some mention of this book, and I think I just pretended I never read this and like erased it from history. So instead, I thought I would read you guys some 1-star reviews from Goodreads that pretty much sum up all of my thoughts. If you want a romance with the most not like other girls heroine and women-hating hero, then look no further. I think this book is trying to be feminist by saying that you can be a strong female and love yourself even if you struggle with infertility or don't have children, but the ending completely undoes everything the book is trying to accomplish anyways. Women with infertility deserved better. This is absolutely the foulest book I've ever read. This problematic, toxic waste of a good tree that was providing oxygen to keep us alive. Okay, so I am 50 pages into Part of Your World, so I wanted to tell you guys what it is about. Basically, this is a romance book about a woman who is a doctor, and she's just coming out of a really terrible relationship, and one day she's driving through this little small town and her car gets stuck in a ditch, and this guy pulls up in a truck and offers to tow her out, and he's, you know, very attractive man. And then later that night she stops in a bar and that same guy is there, and they end up going home together and having like a little one-night stand. But in the middle of the night she looks at his wallet and sees his ID and finds out that he is 28, and she freaks out because she is almost 40, and she's like, oh my god, I can't believe I just had this one-night stand with this child. So she freaks out and leaves. I'm literally still at the very beginning, so I have a long ways to go, but I'm enjoying it so far. Like, I am optimistic about it. They're like little meet cute in the bar was very adorable, and I was like really blushing when I was reading it. I'm gonna read some more and I will check in once I've read like a good chunk of it and I can actually give you like some full thoughts for it, but it's off to a good start. I have finished Part of Your World, and besties, I'm so happy to tell you I love this. I'm giving this 5 stars. You were all right. Everyone who told me, just read Part of Your World. Part of Your World is amazing. Part of Your World is the best romance book I've ever read. Every single one of you told no lies. You are all correct. This was so good. And I would genuinely like to conduct an investigation to figure out who the hell wrote The Friend Zone, because this is a different Abby Jimenez. This is not the same Abby Jimenez who wrote The Friend Zone, who wrote Little Miss, I'm such a cool girl, I'm not like other girls, I like sports and I like drinking beer. Y'all know how there's that conspiracy about Avril Lavigne and how Avril Lavigne was replaced by a lookalike? We need to conduct an investigation. Abby Jimenez, I think she was replaced. This is actually written by her twin sister, Gabby Jimenez. Abby has left the building. I just adored the relationship between, what are their names? Alexis and Daniel. So Alexis, I don't know if I fully ever said like the premise of this book. Alexis Montgomery comes from like a long dynasty of surgeons. She is like a very wealthy city girl. She's a surgeon. Her brother is a surgeon. Her father's a surgeon. Her grandfather was a surgeon. And at the start of the book, she is going through a breakup with her longtime boyfriend. They own a house together, but he was emotionally abusive to her. So she has finally escaped from that relationship. But unfortunately, like I said, they still own a house together, and he's also a surgeon at the hospital that she works at. He's very good friends with her father. So despite the fact that she got out of the relationship, he's still very much in her life. Like I said, she ends up meeting this boy, I guess he's a man. She ends up meeting this man in a very small town, and they start a relationship. So throughout the book, she is traveling to this town to spend time with him, but they very much come from different worlds. Like, he lives on a ranch, he has all these animals, he has a goat. So like, they're very much different lifestyles, but they work together so well. But their problem that they have in their relationship, like their hurdle that they have to get over, is that they come from such different worlds and they can't really get their lives to line up. She's up for a very big promotion at the hospital. They're finding it very impossible to merge their worlds together. Like, oh, their relationship felt so realistic. Like the problems that they had, the hurdles that they had to get over, it felt so real. It wasn't like a case of miscommunication or like a stupid argument or like whatever. It was like real life problems where they personally worked so well together, but their lives did not line up. And Daniel, he worshipped the ground that she walked on. He was obsessed with her. She was always kind of like, you know, this isn't serious, you're not my boyfriend, like this isn't gonna work out, we're just having fun. And he was like, the second you say you want me to be your boyfriend, I'm there. I got the ring, like I'm lining up, I'm in wait, tell me when you're ready. I also loved that it was an age gap, but she was 10 years older than him. I think she's like 38 and he's 28. And I just love age gaps with an older woman. Like, oh my God, we've come so far. We have come so far from a 1 star to a 5 star. And I will definitely be picking up the sequel to this, Yours Truly. I feel like I should just not read any books from the Friend Zone series. I actually, a friend of mine spoiled one of the books in that series. I think Life is Too Short or something like that. And the way that it also sounds so bad, I'm like, seriously, somebody replaced Abby Jimenez. We need to look into this. But this so far has been the biggest success of the video. I did not expect to find a 5 star out of any of these books, but here we are. I wanted to update you guys with how I'm doing with the Atlas 6. The world building is a little bit confusing, a little bit wordy. I don't love all the characters. So I have some point of view characters where when I get to their chapter, I want to put the book down. I mean, there's 6 point of views and I basically only cared about 2 of them. It was fine. I'm not obsessed with it. I am now 100 pages, 120 pages into Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake. Besties, come close, come very close. If this is your favorite book, I am urging you to protect your peace and maybe not watch this next part of the video, because I'm not about to say nice things. I'm giving you a chance right now to protect your peace and not watch because I hate this. Like, I'm genuinely having the worst time. So what is this book about? This book is essentially, the way that it's like pitched is that it's 6 conversations between 2 people. It's these 2 people who meet at a museum and they decide to have 6 conversations in order to get to know each other. It says, could 6 conversations with a stranger be the variable that shakes up the entire simulation? I don't even know where to begin. I'll start with the thing that's actually making me want to rip the hair out of my head. That is the writing. This book is like praised for its writing. Every 5-star review on Goodreads is like, best writing ever. The writing is amazing. I'm here to tell you that this is not good writing. I don't understand. It is so overwritten. And the writing is done in this way where it's like trying so hard to be so deep and existential, and it's not. It's really giving like Tumblr text post vibes, like those very like deep quotes about life that would just get like millions of reblogs on Tumblr. I'm gonna read you this one paragraph. Okay, because I need to, like, you need to hear this. When Reagan had chosen to visit the armory in the past, it had been because it stood for the sacredness of purpose. There was no frivolity here. Instead, there was the irony of peace, empty shells of weaponry, garish red walls, the fossils of consequence. It reminded her of a time when people still committed their violence eye to eye, which gave her a paradoxical sense of gratification. It was intimate because it was not. It was religious because it was not. It was beautiful because at its heart, it was twisted and soulless and ugly, and therefore it mirrored something masochistic in Reagan herself. Her choice of the armory that day implied significance. It had the ripple of consequence, cosmically so. And then, what had been the cause? Had she met Aldo there because fate had willfully intervened, or because they already possessed such similar forms of rumination? Was it contrived, God descending from machine, or was it because she had been vacant where he was vacant, and therefore both would inevitably seek to be filled? What the fuck are you saying? So many words to say such little things. And that was literally just the start. I read that and I was like, oh boy. Then we get to part 1. Part 1 has these really weird writing quirks where there will be like almost stage directions in the middle of the narrative. And then there will be parts that's like interjections from random narrators. So it'll be like the narrator, a middle-aged woman with a brisk intolerance for nonsense, who will give like commentary. Who are these narrators? I don't know. And it's like all throughout this first part are all of these like interjections from narrators, which in theory could be cool. I've read other books that had like a narrator that would interject at different points. I actually really liked it. However, in this case, it feels purposeless because after this first part, that goes away. All the narrators gone. The stage directions gone. What did they mean? Who are these narrators? The narrator, an overzealous Cubs fan. Who are you? The narrator, a beloved kindergarten teacher. Who are you? The narrator, a teen girl who's barely paying attention. Who are you people? Feeling like it's trying to be like so artsy. There's no purpose to it. Like this first part honestly was so awful. I genuinely wanted to fling myself out a window. I really hope nobody who's this is their favorite book kept watching. I gave you a warning, so if you kept watching, that is your own fault. You can't be mad at me. Okay, so then we get to part 2 where they actually meet. So we have Reagan and Aldo, and they meet and they decide, like I said, to have 6 conversations to get to know each other. When I tell you, the rest of the book is just them talking. It is just them talking. I've actually read a few other books where it was like primarily just dialogue between 2 characters. That's fine. These 2 characters are so annoying. So annoying. Aldo is a PhD student in like mathematics and like quantum physics, and he's really into talking about like the universe and time travel. And then Reagan is an artist and she works at the museum. I would literally rather eat rocks than talk to either of them. So reading an entire book that is just them speaking to each other is painful. Aldo also has this obsession with bees. He has this obsession with bees and like hexagon shapes and beehives. Half of their conversations are just about bees. And I'm like, the bees are endangered enough. They don't deserve this. They don't deserve to be involved in this book. The bees have gone through enough. Free the bees. Genuinely listening to these 2 people talk to each other, it's giving like, it's giving like Gus from The Fault in Our Stars when he's like, I put the cigarette between my lips to put the killing thing, but don't give it the power to kill me. Like, it's giving that vibe. There's this scene that just happened. I literally had to put the book down when I read this part. Oh my God. She calls Aldo in the middle of the night, and while they're on the phone, she starts touching herself and masturbating. And so I thought, oh, okay, she's gonna like let him know she's feeling a little frisky and they're gonna have phone sex. No, she does not say anything. And as he's talking to her, she just keeps masturbating and then comes while he's still talking to her about like their plans for the next day, like where they're gonna go get coffee. And then they end the conversation. She hangs up. And I'm like, oh my God, disgusting, Miss Reagan. And she has this moment literally in that where she contemplates telling him. So this is in her thoughts. She says, he was probably stoned, wasn't he? Even if he wasn't, he'd like it. Everyone did. I'm naked. I'm touching myself. I was thinking about you before. I'm thinking about you now. I'm going to come like this, thinking of you. Men loved that. They were so fucking easy. The whole thing was so tragically primal. But then she doesn't tell him. I'm sorry, was that supposed to be like a cute little moment? And then after she comes, she like says his name, and then she goes, if he heard it or anything else, he didn't comment. And then he just goes on talking about what he was already talking about. Like, foul. Absolutely foul. So that's where I'm at with the book right now. 120 pages in. I hate it so much, and I hate myself for reading it, and I wish I could go back in time and pick something different. All right, I have finished Alone with You in the Ether, and none of my thoughts have changed. It is 1 star. I'm so sorry. This was not for me. I hated literally everything about it. I feel like the concept, the idea was promising, but the writing was just so horrible, so pretentious, so overdone. This is the shortest book I've ever read that felt so unbelievably long. Like, this book is not even 300 pages, and I feel like I've been reading it for months. And I am free, which means we have made it to the end of this video. And what is so interesting to me about this episode is that the 2 authors who I had previously given 1 star, Darcy Coates and Abby Jimenez, I now love their books. I gave the Darcy Coates 4.5 stars. I gave Part of Your World 5 stars. And the one author who I went into this like, I didn't hate her book, she now gets a 1 star. I will officially never read an Olivia Blake book again. I am just gonna chalk it up to her book not being for me. I'm still a girl who does not get it, and I am quite frankly happy to not get it. But I am so happy to say that I now enjoy Abby Jimenez and Darcy Coates, and I will definitely be reading more books from both of these authors. The Second Chance was a success for 2 out of 3 authors. So I hope you guys liked this video. If you made it till the end, you should leave me a bee emoji to free the bees from this book. We need to save them. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and consider checking out my Patreon where I post tons of exclusive content. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!